Hello everyone, welcome back to Knotwise Tavern. Today, deciding to do a prototype, because I don't know how this was going to turn out, of a plate. So I'm going to be using this here plate on this piece of poplar to draw a circle, using this plate as a template. I feel like I'm going to be saying plate a lot in this video. So here I'm just going to draw a circle, and then we'll cut it out with a jigsaw. This plate is actually going to be Diablo themed, or action-adventure RPG themed that takes place in hell. I don't know, I don't want to get sued. Don't sue me, Blizzard. So here I'm just going to clamp down my piece of poplar. Then I'm realizing that I should probably put these upside down so that the jigsaw doesn't get in the way. So I'm doing that. Alright, so I'm just going to give it a little snip snip, and we'll be right back when I have a rough circle. So enjoy. Alright, so here's a circle-ish. Gonna take this over to my disc sander and kinda, oh my, dusty. Alright, so just gonna take this and sand this down to the line that I drew. Gonna go nice and easy, just slowly rotating it around and sanding it right up to that line. Now, here I'd like to cut in and say that my intrusive thoughts won. I just kind of lost in the moment and decided, let's see if it... Oh, nope, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. All right, back to sanding. Aw, yeah, nice and smooth. All right. So now that I got my disc cut out, I'm going to use a smaller plate on my bigger wood plate to make a template and draw out a smaller circle, like that. So now I've taken this over to my router table. So you can see that I am just kind of putting that down and then giving it a rotate it. So what I did was I figured out the distance that I wanted the rim to be. So I set my fence back just far enough and opened up the hole in between the fence wide enough so that when I put the plate on the bit, I can run the plate through the gap using the two edges of the fence to kind of make a circle and carve out a ring that is just far enough away from the edge that I like it and at the depth that I want it, just like that. Now, like I said, this was a prototype, and that was actually the second plate that I did this on. Here is the first plate, where I just decided to use my palm router and hog out all the material at a certain depth, right up to a line, and it didn't work as well as I would like. I ended up getting some inconsistencies in my depth. I tried to get the base plate of the router always situated on as much level material as the surface as I could get. Sometimes I missed and made some depths that weren't quite as flush and even as I would like, and even the sander couldn't really get rid of it. You'll see here in a minute why that kind of matters on the next part of this build. But for now, here I am just removing a whole lot of wood. It's very messy. Alright, so now, some of you might have noticed that the plate looks a little different. I went through a lot of sanding and actually ran it through the planer a little bit on the opposite side. And did I mention a lot of sanding? I couldn't get it as even as I would have liked. But turns out it matters, but it doesn't matter. I just need to cook this thing a lot. As you can see here, I am hitting this thing with a torch, and I am hitting it hard. It's kind of the whole idea. The thought process was I'm going to char the crap out of this thing until it starts to crack and get some huge gouges and divots and veins in it from all the heat. Also, you'll notice that there was that middle part of the plate was a little deeper, and that kind of stands out even after torching it. Turns out if you torch it enough, it does tend to go away eventually. Also, with all this heat, you can see that the plate started to warp. Eventually, I flipped it over and hit the back side, and that kind of leveled it out a little bit. So now, you can see the plate looks a little different. This is after I hit the back and kind of charred up the edges a little bit more. And there's some white stuff on it. That white stuff is kind of some paint, maybe a little glue. I tried everything and anything I could think of to get the colors to look the way I wanted to. Turns out, the best way to do that is the simplest solution. I just applied some of this orange, like bright orange, yard marking spray paint. And you're like marking where gas lines are and crap under your yard. So I just doused the surface and proceeded to wipe it off. And it actually produced the effect that I was looking for, which is kind of a hellish lava landscape. Now comes the epoxy. I needed to seal this in somehow, and, well, it's a plate, so kind of wanted it to be somewhat food safe so that you could kind of maybe eat off of it. So epoxy seemed like the best choice. So here I am, just pouring some epoxy. Now I'm sanding off the epoxy that I just put on. I'm not sanding it off, I'm just scuffing it up a bit and getting it prepared for another layer of epoxy. First layer had a lot of micro bubbles and stuff, but I figured 2 coats might be alright here. Then we will flip it over and put some epoxy on the bottom side. Gotta fully secure this thing so that way if you go to wash it, like hand wash in the sink, would not put this through the dishwasher, that it's completely covered and coated so that way it doesn't get any moisture stuck inside. Now, as per usual, hit this with a torch, and then also give it a spritz of acetone just to kind of thin out the epoxy, and hopefully it'll lay a little flatter. And with that, like I said, this is a prototype, just trying to figure out my process. see if I can make a better one at another date. So if you've liked what you've seen, enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, share with your friends. I appreciate you watching to the end. And as per usual, here's the final shots.